great week. I've got some more videos coming up soon, some more interviews, weekly shows, but I wanted to follow up on this news coming out of Oregon and Idaho. It's something that I have reported on before where several counties in Oregon, Western Oregon, typically viewed as more conservative or red voting counties are now voting to secede and they want to join Idaho. And now we've seen even more counties in Oregon splitting off and trying to join Idaho. They're calling it the Greater Idaho Project. So, this is something I've discussed with a few states, and we've also seen this across the United States, especially with the last presidential election, the 2020 election. And I don't think it's just demographics. I think there is a lot of cheating going on with the election machines in these major cities, and just a lot of shenanigans overall with these major cities. And then overall, the states themselves are pretty conservative or independent, more, if you will. I don't really think a lot of these areas are actually Republican at this point. People need to stop looking at the two major parties and looking at the individual issues. So I'm hoping that'll be part of the larger political landscape going forward, that people become a little bit more nuanced on the issues themselves and not the red versus blue. But just as a snapshot, you've seen, for instance, with my home state of Maine, they're claiming that Biden won that state, but it was pretty split, and it was split last time and the time before. So basically, the only area that votes blue or Democrat in the state of Maine is the Portland area, which is the largest city. Every place else always votes red. So somehow the state is carried blue, even though if you look at it demographically, the majority is red or conservative, independent, what have you, just not Democrat. So we've seen this all across the United States with pretty much every major state, all the swing states as well. Michigan, Georgia is a great example. Arizona, huge example. They're claiming Maricopa County, Arizona. These one counties, these one little area, if you look at the demographics, is tiny blue dot surrounded by a bigger red state. So we've seen this with Oregon for a while, as you can see, Portland, Oregon, and this kind of coastal area. Usually the coastal areas are more liberal, if you will, liberal policies. And then as you get in further in, people are more conservative, and I'm using those terms loosely. So, disgruntled Oregonians in 5 counties now vote in favor of joining Idaho next. What's next? So, this is a pretty good overview. And like I said, back in November, several of these counties voted to secede. Basically, thousands of people in eastern Oregon voted Tuesday for their elected officials to consider ditching their state and becoming part of Idaho. Voters in the Sherman, Lake, Grant, Baker, and Malheur counties all voted for ballot measures that would lead them to becoming part of the Idaho state. Idahoans, I guess. People in Union and Jefferson counties had already voted in favor during the November election. So that was a quick article that I had done back in November. So look at all these counties that are now breaking from Idaho now. The ballot initiative called on county officials to meet to discuss and consider a border move to Idaho. So they're actually saying it could be even bigger than this, part of the Greater Idaho Project, which would allow some Oregon counties to join a state that advocates say more closely aligns with their political preferences. So we've seen this going on for decades now in the state of Oregon and Idaho, and so many people right now from California are moving to Idaho. It's crazy. It's just a complete flood of people, well, leaving California in general. They've lost millions of people at this point. They're kind of keeping that on the down low, but California is just hemorrhaging people. They're moving to Arizona, moving to Nevada, they're moving to Idaho, moving to Texas. Texas has seen a flood of people. And then on the East Coast, people are leaving Massachusetts and New York in droves, leaving New Jersey, and flooding other states where these draconian measures aren't going on. Florida has seen a huge influx of people. There was someone I listened to recently who said that they were trying to buy a property in Florida, and realtors are basically telling people you need to have $80 to $100,000 more than the asking price, ready to go in cash in your pocket, ready to drop, because we don't even want to really talk to anyone right now. The market is so crazy right now. And in my home state of Maine, so many people are leaving New York and just East Coast, Washington, D.C., and trying to move further up to rural areas. Like I said, I had a friend who said they paid $80,000 over the asking price right now. Real estate is absolutely insane because people are trying to get out of these areas. And all I can say is if you're going to move into a different area, stop voting Democrat. Stop voting for these policies that end up destroying your own town. So everyone acts like, oh, I'm liberal, I'm progressive, I love all this new world order stuff, and then they go and they get out, they want to flee this area. They're like, oh, why is everything a hellhole now? Why is everything so expensive? Why is there all this money laundering and nothing's actually, we're getting taxed to death and nothing's actually being accomplished? Why are the roads, why is everything collapsed? And then they go and move to another area, and then they go and do the same thing. And this is the problem that we have right now. And I'm not trying to crap on people, pardon my language, who traditionally vote Democrat. That's been me as well, but you need to wake up and start realizing that all of this is a big giant scam. Proponents say the swaths of conservative, pro-Trump, anti-tax voters in rural parts of Oregon have more in common with Idaho, which they want to claim as their own state. Oregon, which currently has 2 Democratic senators in the U.S. Senate, has voted blue in presidential elections since 1988. So that's pretty questionable to me, while Idaho, with 2 Republican U.S. senators, has voted red in presidential contests since 1968. This election proves that rural Oregon wants out of Oregon, said Mike McCarter, president of Citizens for Greater Idaho. If we're allowed to vote for which government officials we want, we should be allowed to vote for which government we want to as well. So this is why I've talked about the Greater Cascadia project as well. So we will see even parts of California, Oregon, and then parts of British Columbia as well, part of this area that they want to create, Greater Cascadia. And I've joked, but not really. I do think that's the reason why Harry and Meghan, the former British royals, I guess you could call them, have moved out there. And part of that Greater Silicon Valley project, I think that there is a plan to take over these areas. And we have to ask who owns the debt of California and some of these greater, bigger cities. So we've known for many, many years that Chicago is bankrupt, New York bankrupt, so many of these bigger cities, Connecticut, the state of Connecticut's bankrupt. They're trying to bankrupt all these other states by doing these lockdowns. And what they can do is, instead of having it saying, hey, look at these these cities have been so poorly mismanaged and all this money laundering has resulted in the collapse of these areas, and who's been buying up the debt? Foreign countries, private investors, foreign investors have been buying up this debt. So how are you going to pay that off? You're going to have to be like Michigan. You're going to have to privatize your water supply and sell the Great Lakes. You're going to have to sell your own land. We saw this with Greece and other countries where they were talking about privatizing the Parthenon and these areas under severe austerity measures. They're going to be selling off the land. And I think that's what's going on right now with a lot of these property values. I think these major developments and banks, BlackRock, have been buying up land on the cheap right now because these areas are going bankrupt. The counties that would stay in Oregon would be mostly in the wine-rich Willamette Valley. Rural counties have become increasingly outraged by laws coming out of the Oregon legislature that threaten our livelihoods, our industries, our wallet, our gun rights, and our values, McCarter previously said in a news release. We tried voting those legislators out, but rural Oregon is outnumbered and our voices are now ignored. That is our last resort. Obviously, I don't really think it's just that they're outnumbered. I think there's severe, severe rigging in these major cities, probably going on for decades now. Here's another good article here. More Oregon counties vote to move to Idaho, part of rural effort to gain political refuge from blue states. So we'll see if Idaho wants to take them in. Here's the line right here. So let me know what you think. See, they're even talking about parts of Northern California going in there. So I think this is pretty fascinating. I think we are seeing the lines redrawn if these areas continue to collapse. People just want out of these areas. So let me know what you think, especially if you live on the West Coast. I will put these articles in the show notes. I want to thank everyone for all the support on Patreon, Subscribestar. My PayPal right now is holly.seeliger@gmail.com. Of course, snail mail is still working for me. And I want to give a shout out to everyone right now who's having a hard time. I've had a couple of people reach out to me and say that their family members have passed away recently, and I definitely feel your pain right now. It's been a real hard time for everyone. I actually know a lot of people whose pets have died recently too, so kind of strange times that we're living in, but I'm thinking of you all. I love you guys. I hope you are doing well and always looking forward to good news, and looking forward to spring and summer, spending more time outdoors, going for walks, getting in touch with nature. And so I hope you are doing that as well. And I'm praying for everyone, praying for the whole world right now. Love you guys. Take care. God bless. Bye bye.